topic is resource mobilization and management for different aspects of funding. So I hope you have received the RSVP link and details. We have asked few questions, also pre-questions regarding the same, where we have shared those with our speaker today. Let's take it ahead. So what is our agenda? So our agenda would be, I will introduce our today's speaker. We will talk a little bit about Connect for and Connect for webinars. And we will start with the webinar discussion by our expert speaker. At the end, we will have a Q&A session and the closing circle. A few things you can keep in mind. You can take notes, keep a paper and pencil at handy, use chat box. Let's make it more interactive. हमें सुनना ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है और एक दूसरे से बात करना अच्छा लगता है. So let's keep it more interactive. Use chat box if you want to ask or tell, or if you want to share any opinion of yourself. I would request to keep your camera on. Sorry from my end, I'm extremely sorry. From my end, I cannot switch on the camera, but I would request all of you to do the same. And you can use if you want to say something, please raise hands and use the emojis and so we will feel okay, we are all on the same page. So a little bit about Connect for those who have joined for the first time, or those who doesn't know like a little bit nothing or anything about Connect for. So Connect for is a platform where we match and connect volunteers to NGOs based on the requirements. So our focus has been on tailoring these solutions to benefit each of our stakeholders groups. So it could be NGOs or volunteers or corporate employees or volunteering group. So when we say the concept of monetary donations is like very well established in India, so our focus is on empowering people to donate their time and skill for a specific cause area, right? So till now we have partnered with more than 500, now it's 700 plus NGOs across India, and about 70 to 80,000 volunteers have been registered on a platform. We work across different cause verticals like environment, community development, education, children, women empowerment, and so on. About Connect for webinars, so we conduct these webinars to help and capacitate and the nonprofit organizations by bringing highly skilled guests to share their learnings and experience. And it will help the NGOs to train to function better in regards to their projects. And yes, these webinars, through these webinars, we raise awareness and provide knowledge on sector-based challenges and solutions. So all our past webinars, if you go to our YouTube channel, Connect for YouTube channel, you will find all our past, webinars are recorded and preserved there. So if you're not yet partnered with us and if you want to reach out to us, you can go to connectfor.org, go to contact us form, or you can just email us at ops@connectfor.org. Okay, let me introduce today's speaker. I'm very happy to and excited to introduce Palak Soni. She is a founder of Sadaiv Sadev. It's a non-profit working to bridge a gap between privileged and underprivileged communities through health, education, livelihood, and other initiatives. Palak is deeply committed to creating equal opportunities and safe spaces where everyone has access to support, resources, and a chance to grow, no matter their background is. And yes, Sadaiv Palak, we have been partnered with for more than a year, for a very long time, and we have been, whether it's volunteer or whether it's event support or doing activities for the communities, we are always there. So welcome, Palak. Thank you so much for your time. So let's start. Yes, please take it over.
Okay, thank you so much, Nilam. And I am equally excited for this because we have been associated with NEC4 in various domains, whether it's volunteering or events, and now webinar in terms of sharing knowledge. So thank you everyone else also who have joined today, who part of this session. I hope it's a learning session together because the topic that we've selected today is based on resource mobilization and management for fundraising, which is a very pain point for many organizations. I won't say that we have cracked that, but we're on the journey of that. So I thought whatever our learnings is, we can share with you. And whatever your learnings are, I'm equally excited to know them too. So I'm just presenting my screen 1 second. Um, Let me know if it's visible.
Yes, yes, it is.
Right. So, just to take it ahead, before moving forward with the topic, I would be more than excited to know your viewpoints as well. In case anyone has any specific question, or in case if anyone wants to add on to the topic or add on to the aspect we were discussing, I would love to hear it in the chat. Definitely, you can unmute also, and you can definitely raise that concern when we'll be pausing after a few slides so that we can understand. I've made some slides, but more or less we will be discussing about the topic, and we will be trying to find out the ways that as an development sector we all are working for. We should be working together and we should learn from each other's learning. So, my name is Palak. Already Neelam told you about that. I'm working with an organization named Sadeh Sadeh. We're primarily working on health and livelihood, and we proudly say that we work on volunteer run model, and we work on mental health, menstrual hygiene, and women livelihood. So we've been working since 2020, and it's a great energetic energy that we transformed lot many lives during the past 5 years. We celebrated 5 years just a month back. So I'm equally glad that we're getting opportunity to share our 5 years learning with you all. So, coming to know about the topic, I would be more than happy if you can like share what comes to your mind when you hear the word resources. What's that first thing when you hear about resources and you wanted to think for your organization? You can unmute or you can write in the chat so that we all can see it. Okay, natural resources. That's that's definitely one thing that comes. Effective presentation to donors, right? That's true. Enablers, funds, and non-fund support, right? Existing funds and volunteers. Oh, that's great. Resources as volunteers, definitely. Right. If anyone else has any other thing to share when it comes to resources, do let us know. Okay. Because I'm raising these questions just that I can understand what you're expecting from the webinar. What's your NGO's biggest challenge right now? That's the second question that I would like you all to understand. Like, I do want to know if you are running an NGO or if you are working with an NGO or if you have volunteered with an NGO, what's the challenge you think right now your NGO is facing? Handling technology, that's a pain point, definitely. Funds, manpower, funding, to get funds, lot funds. Okay, that's the commonality. I think every organization can definitely connect with it. Manpower. Okay, that's also good manpower, we can say. Right. Okay, I hope we'll be discussing more about these ideas in the session coming forward. Getting the right funding, that's a correct thing. Getting the right funding to take your idea forward. Funding and sustainability, true. Right. Okay, last question. If you had to rate your NGO's resource mobilization efforts right now, whatever it is, either in the form of funding, people, manpower, where would you place it? You can give out of 10. Okay, 5 out of 10. That's a good number, average. Okay, 5 to 4. Oh, I can see lot many disappointed people also then. 2, 5. Okay, 6. Right. So, well, we at Sadeh had achieved a good resource mobilization. So that's why we'll be sharing more about that, how we can make it. So thank you for sharing the answers and let's move forward. So yes. So this is about Sade. I would like you to all know a bit about us so that definitely in case if anytime we get time to work together, we look forward to it. We work in mental health initiative, we work with livelihood, we work with menstrual health and hygiene, and we also work with men's mental health because that's something we wish we recently started and we understood the need of the hour. We run as a 2000 plus volunteer run model where 2000 volunteers across India are working with us. And we are on a mission to reach vulnerable individuals and communities through transformative programs. That is to create a dialogue between privileged and underprivileged sections of the society. And the most important, provide accessible support and build a strong ecosystem by training skilled forces of compassionate professionals. So that's about Sade. Coming forward to the next agenda, that is about a picture. I always believe that picture tells more than words. So I would all of you like to you can see a picture right now. I would like all of you to what comes to your mind when you're seeing this picture? What's happening? How it's helping? What do you think? What is the vibe around? Please share in the chat, or if anyone wants to say out, please unmute and say. I would love to hear your thoughts. Anything that comes to your mind. Okay, teamwork, seed ball making all together, right? Community, unity. That's a brilliant word. Employee engagement, right? Corporate volunteering, corporate volunteering. True. Anyone else saying something else that is something out of the box that you think is coming out if we talk about resource mobilization also in our mind? Pankti Bhojnam. Okay. Right. Okay. So I always believe in sharing pictures and talking about it. So this is a picture that's true. It's a corporate volunteering activity, it's a seed ball making activity. That's true. But what's coming out is so now these employees are creating infographics and seed balls. So infographics on eco-anxiety. That is when you see a lot of people deteriorating climate, they tend to feel anxious about it if the climate deterioration is around. So now more than 50 people I can say are there in the picture, and they are creating these seed balls, and the people sitting at the back on the tables are creating these infographics. Those will be utilized in the box and campaigns and awareness sessions that we do so that people get aware. So that's how we call it a resource mobilization for us. यहाँ पर जितने भी लोगों ने जो भी बना रहे हैं वो सब infographics के form में utilize होगा in the field work. So that's how 50 people coming together making 50 infographics, and that's how we are utilizing the resources. That's one form of resource mobilization that we follow and have been very successful since past more than 2 years. We have been utilizing these resources, and it has been a great journey for us. Now, coming to the what exactly is resource mobilization? So that's what resource mobilization is, to help the problem you're facing. It can be bringing together everything you need to run your program. It can be money, it can be people, it can be material, it can be network, it can be, for example, if I have to say, if a doctor wants to run a health camp, so the resources will be a doctor who is the volunteer for the resource, medicines donated by the resources, and the funds you raise to arrange the camp. So all these are the resources, and that's how we mobilize it. So it can be a monetary resource, it can be a financial resource, human resource, material resource, equity resource, where place that we are doing this initiative is the resource, venue partners, media partners, social media, everything is a resource to run that program. And that is what resource mobilization is. We always, as an organization, run behind finances, funds to run the program. But whenever we talk about funds, I think we always need to see that why are funds needed? And if not funds, what other thing can replace that fund? So that is why it matters to us and an NGO also, that why we want resources, multiple resources. There are many reasons, but what we have identified in the past 5 years is that we need resources to run our program. We need resources to scale our program. We need resources to impact more, reach more, expand more. And most importantly, we need these resources to build donors and partners trust together. So, if we will be continuously mobilizing and continuously running the program, if we definitely our donors or partners would have a trust on us and they will work with us. It will create a sustainable model. It will help us to create credibility. So, when we say resource mobilization and funding, the difference that we could understand is with resource mobilization, we could sustain the program, we could expand the program. With funding, we could make resource mobilize more. So it's a chain of work. So that's about the resource mobilization. If I have to talk about the different sources of funding, we usually as an organization, when even we still struggle with funding. But what we have identified in the past 2 years, mostly because first 3 years we were pretty new, we didn't understood how we can do it. The only thing that we were exploring in the initial when an organization starts is mostly regards to how to like individual donation you depend on the most, because you only know your people, so your near dear ones, that's the only thing you start with. But while you are working, you expand it, you take it to more people. It has been years, you are expanding the programs. You understand that, okay, those individual donors are adding a short term value to you. And because those donors are usually your known people, so you can't always rely on them. To sustain an organization, we need to have multiple funding opportunities, multiple sources, multiple ways of how we can sustain ourselves. If we only depend on one source, it gets exhausted over the course of time. So, what more sources of funding can be explored are like corporate partnerships, CSR. I think many of you or many of the organizations explore that because this has been a great source of opportunity and great source of funding. We have grants, a lot of foundations host grants, a lot of international foundations host grants. We have individual donors who obviously crowdfunding is the biggest platform to learn about your organization funding. So crowdfunding is a great opportunity. There are some government schemes. I know for government schemes, there is a different area of expertise that are needed and different area of networking, but that also is a part of funding. Then obviously earned revenue. If you are a social enterprise, if you have a product-based development for your beneficiaries, that's a very great aspect of funding. So these are some sources that can be utilized. And how to utilize these fundraising. So there are various ways which we can do that. I would like to cover the 5 aspects that we are primarily working on. Storytelling that connects. I know last webinar you had on storytelling by Akshita, and she's been the person who definitely connects a lot of dots together in a story form. So you have to share the real stories, not just with donors, not just with individuals, through masses. And how that works through social media, through going to events, through talking to new people. What attracts and what gives credibility is the storytelling. And storytelling should be real stories, people who have seen the impact, people who have undergone that impact. It can be short videos, photos, simple language. It's not important that you create a lot of like abstract stories. It's always important to have real life stories. So now there's one more thing that we have discovered. So we work in mental health. We can't share stories of people who have taken mental health therapy with us. We've been struggling a lot since past 2 years on that now. But what we could understand is, even if because of the confidentiality and we have taboo related to sharing mental health issues. So we have built a platform this way that we share anonymous stories now. It's like, for example, we have a series of Sadeh Untold Stories. So these untold stories, every month we try to cater one beneficiary, share their end-to-end scratch story with obviously anonymously, like not with their name and with their permission that they want to share their story out loud. So it attracts beneficiaries, it attracts NGOs, it attracts funders, it attracts donors. So it's a win-win for everyone. Now, digital fundraising is also been evolving over the course of time, like different platforms that help us to raise funds. Give India, Milap. So Danutsav is coming, and Give India always have a lot of opportunities, and they double the amount. So I think someone is unmuted.
Okay. Others to keep on mute.
Right. So digital fundraising is a very important aspect that can help you to uh, raise funds. And a very small thing you can do is have a WhatsApp community of yours where you can put up about the impact stories and you can do fast fundraising. It's not always important to put up on Keto or Milap or Give India. A small WhatsApp connects also help. Community events. So, we lot of fundraising events you can conduct to raise funds. Community events like small and medium businesses coming forward for in-kind small sponsorships, and obviously these community events are part of corporate volunteering events as well. You can have corporate engagement activities, donations, volunteering. There's always a mood of this also. For example, give like Danutsav is coming in October. So now it's a mood of giving, so these events tend to raise a lot of funds. You can raise lakhs, crores during these events if you put up your ideas beautifully and put up your idea in a form of storytelling, and people are in the mood of giving. For example, if same thing, same event you do in July won't give you that because people are not in the mood. October, November, December are a mood where they want to donate to the causes. So that's a part of a fundraising strategy. Corporate giving is a great way of raising funds because it is a ripple effect that is created. You get your resources also mobilized, like I mentioned. We get a lot of our infographics created via corporate volunteering. We raise funds via corporate volunteering. We get sustainable ideas to run our organization via corporate volunteering as well. So this is a win-win position for everyone. And obviously partnerships and networking help. I won't say just networking randomly. It's always important to study the person you want to network with. What are their ideologies? What are the causes they usually connect with? What they want to do it. So that's how partnerships and networks, you can reach out to them with a proper plan. Just a random networking event won't help, but a planned network with one individual can definitely help. So these are effective fundraising methods. I will do a quick pause before going to the next challenge is how these methods give us. If anyone has anything to add or any question to address or want to ask anything, please either unmute or put it in the chat. Or if we are together in this, you can give a thumbs up or something so that it can help us that we are all together in the webinar right now.
Definitely agree, Palak, with you. Yes, so it's the half have we come across. So if you have any questions, anything you want to add on, please raise your hands and you can ask the questions. Yes. Okay. So Raju Patil is saying kindly elaborate storytelling. Okay. Great.
Right. So, storytelling, usually it's said that it's an art, but more than an art, it's the real impact you are sharing. Storytelling involves both quantitative and qualitative, but mostly it's about how you present the idea. For example, if I have to tell a person that how therapy is helpful, giving out ideas that therapy provides you, this give you relief, it helps you in your daily life, it improves your lifestyle, won't help. But if I give a real life incident, for example, there's a person who was feeling very anxious, who was feeling very restless, he wasn't able to sleep for more than 10 days and was insomniatic. And then he reached out to us. He asked us that, what can I do? Can you help us? In a simple help turned out to be a life-changing incident for that person. We booked the therapy session for him with our best psychologist, and the person that took therapy every week, now he is able to work on his lifestyle. He's able to understand the issues that he was facing. Now he is more independent. More than looking forward to therapy sessions, he is more looking forward to life. So that's how you can seek out transformation and how you can tell out people that how journey of change happen. But storytelling always involves photos, videos, and also impact from the people directly telling out case stories, case studies. So this will help people to know. If you show a picture, they will understand more rather than you tell them that we have 100 beneficiaries who every day work, come to us and work with us. Rather, show that how they're working. So that's how storytelling helps. Right. I think in case anyone has any other question to add, please do in the chat box. We can move forward with the next section, which is about the challenges. Many of us face that. And honestly, the challenges that I mentioned, we have still facing them or we have faced in the past. But these are the common challenges I think many organizations face. That is the long-term sustainability. Because we need to understand that if we have to build a sustainable model, there has to be a diverse funding opportunities. You can't only depend upon one CSR opportunity or individual donor. Multiple hands has to be working together to put a sustainable fundraising model. Like you should have a monthly giving programs for steady inflow. You should every month you should plan your events. You should plan your programs. ConnectFor is a great example. They always plan their events, volunteering prior to 1 month. So it helps to have a proper strategy. Even if you're not just fundraising, even if to resource mobilization, it's always have to be a proper planned execution, a strategic execution. Always, if for example, if you are doing a crowdfunding, it's always good that if you're doing it for 3 months, after every 15 days you put up an update, show the impact, regular updates, so that the donors see where their money is going. It's transparency is needed in every fundraising platform, either corporates or grants or events or individual donors. Now coming to the connecting with corporates. Though corporate network is a tough nut to crack because these days this is the area where most of the organizations are trying, but it's always better to study before connecting with a corporate. What I've seen is that people, what they do is they start networking with different CSR people or different corporate individuals who work with the CSR teams, but they don't know what exactly that corporate ideology is. For example, I'll give you an example. So we work with Make My Trip. Make My Trip has this idea of credibility, sustainability, and climate protection. They work on these two. And how do we got to know? We researched on their website. We planned out what exactly they are looking forward to when they want to work with CSR. So always better to know the CSR goals of the corporate you are trying to reach. And if it doesn't align with your work, don't jump into it. It might sound that okay, I'm getting an opportunity, why should I not explore? If I am working in education and a corporate is working in hunger, it's not connecting, and I should not stop my work or change my work just to get that corporate opportunity, because one way or the other it get exhausted over time and you will deviate from your own vision or mission which you have planned. So it's always better to understand the CSR goals of the corporate you are trying to crack, and then reach out to them with the proper plan and proper idea that, okay, we will be doing this with you, we'll be doing this with you. And that's how connects to your goals also. And mostly corporates connect to that only. Share success stories with them. Um, we struggle a lot with balancing the program and the operational cost. We do get program cost, but the program operational cost is a tough. Even if we are working on a volunteer run model, volunteer managers, volunteer representatives are needed, which is itself a tough nut to crack. So it's always better to allocate a small percent of every grant for operations, because without operations you can't work. If you will definitely show any corporate or a donor or a grant person that how admin cost supports program quality, they will understand. But you need to be transparent. You can't cut cost here and there. And volunteers is a great idea. Volunteering is a great idea. They help us to reduce the cost, they help us to reduce the overheads, but and plan a quality work also. Getting reliance on volunteers create a issue also at times. It's like a win loss both kind of a thing. If you have a good volunteers with you, who are running your program, it's a like a basically it's a cherry on the cake. But if it's volunteers, you managers are needed more than volunteers, or they are lazy volunteers, then it's an issue. So create a structured volunteer program which have roles, recognitions, training. Also, it's important that they feel something getting for themselves. Also, learnings can be. I'm not saying always monetary support, but learnings also, or their hours conversion, because a lot of college students need their hours as a community development internship. So that can also be engaged. So this is more about the overcoming the common challenges that we faced as an organization. I again wanted to show a picture which is giving out some idea, which I would like you to tell to us. So what do you think this picture is telling out, and what is coming out from this? If you can share in the chat box, I'll definitely answer your question, Babul. Before that, I was thinking if everyone can put out what this picture is telling to them and how is it helping in resource mobilization. Employees making Rakis, that's true. Raki making event, yes. Volunteers supporting in product making and getting linked to the cause. Sense of community. Supporting community too by giving time. True. Nivedita, I really like your answer. That's amazing. Right. So, that's what how you see the picture. Definitely, it's a Rakhi making corporate volunteering activity. But there are two things that are happening. One, definitely community development, volunteering, people getting the idea to give to the society. But if you can see, there is a woman who is teaching them. These women are our beneficiaries. These are rural to urban migrated women who are earning livelihood by creating handicrafts. So now we are creating resources in the form of Rakhis, which will act as a product. We are creating resources in the form of volunteers who are creating that product. Thirdly, we are having trainers as women who lack confidence in the term of training. They have never been to such big events. They have never hosted. They are turning into entrepreneurs. So they are also a resource right now. So that's what it's a win-win position for every three aspects, either volunteers, either products, or the beneficiaries who themselves are turning to the experts or professionals who are training people. So that's how we always should plan our resources, that even the resources that are taking resources from us can be a resource themselves to someone else. So that's about the picture that is here. Coming to the next aspect. Okay, before that, we have the question from Babul, how to know the CSR goals of a particular corporate. Is there a way to find out the corporates working on a certain themes? Example, SDG. Yes, there's a way. It's always important to read about that corporate. So, as I mentioned about Make My Trip, if we go to their website or you write on Google the CSR goals of Make My Trip, it's always mentioned what their ideologies are. They have a Make My Trip Foundation, Instagram, and LinkedIn page also. Study that and understand what type of activities, what type of goals they usually work with, either in SDG goals, or they have a plan that we work with sustainability and climate protection. That's how they have mentioned it properly. So always read about the organization all before talking to the CSR guy or CSR team member, so that they know that how your vision and their vision inclines. If you'll talk about your vision, they might feel that okay, they're not matching with us. You have to make it a match before going it. I'm not saying to mold your vision, but to find a commonality where you can do. It's always better to study and do a research of research of their organization through websites, through their social medias, through their past events, and then reach out to them so that they might feel interested with your ideologies too. So I hope that answers it. Moving to the next thing, which is how to build strategic partnerships. Because it's not a one-time corporate collaboration, or it's not a one-time individual donor collaboration. It's always to build it on long term, because if it's a one time, they will come, they will give you, and it's done. You won't be able to build a sustainable model. So there are various ways you can do that. Is to first, which I mentioned, is to identify what are their priorities, CSR priorities. Even if it's an HNI, try to understand that what that HNI usually aligns with. For example, we work in mental health. So we always do this point that we try to search high net individuals who are working on the field of mental health, who connect with the field of mental health, who tweets about mental health statistics, or who write more on mental health articles related to in on LinkedIn. So that's how we tend to research before going to them with our proposal. Then we approach them. Approaching is not always physically. You can definitely reach out to them on LinkedIn or social medias. You can reach out to them with some personal connect, or connect to connect. These are ways you can do. Then engage with them. It's not, don't all directly ask to them about funding or donations, or asking them for grants. It's always important that you tell them to visit either to your working location, and not to your office. It's not always important to talk to them on with your official purpose. Show them your work, show them your impact. If they connect with your impact, if they connect with your thoughts, then you can go and talk about funding, grants, challenges you are facing. Tell them the impact stories you have created, and maintain a regular update. It's like sharing impact stories, sharing reports, talking about your field visits, so that they feel connected. This is a it's a continuous, consistent program. Not every day, but every month is important, so that they stay in loop and they stay connected. For example, if any CSR opportunity then will be coming, they'll definitely reach out to you because they are connected to you. So that's how you build a strategic partnership, and that's how we've been building it in the past. I think, how do you search HNIs? Right, Raju. So we've been searching HNIs for the past 1 year now. And how we do that is through their history of work. So it's a connect to connect. We usually follow LinkedIn as a source to know, and Twitter as a source to search people. So because we've been working in development sector, we know people. So for example, if you can find one HNI, then you reach out, you check their connections, their networks, their people, and you reach out to second person. And before reaching out to HNI on social media, it's always better to check in your own circle. So for example, when we started with searching, I had known one of my uncle who knows an HNI. He's not an HNI, but who knows an HNI. So he connected to that person. If a personal connect is there, it's a high chances that you convert it. So first of all, whenever you start searching, start talking to your people that, okay, I am looking forward to some HNIs. HNIs help in this aspects. HNIs lose that. So then they will search in their own circle. And once you connect to one HNI, that will connect you to more HNIs. So for one first level, you always have to start with your own network. So yes, these are some pictures of resource mobilization and how these resources have helped. For example, the employees are creating Rakis, and then we distributed these Rakis. Then our employees are, we did a session in United Nations to make them know about mental health well-being. Those same people then conducted a session in a community where they told the same ideology that we shared with them. So it's a chain of change. That's why we call it a resource mobilization. Right. Coming to the next slide, which is a lot of organizations work on volunteer run model, and these days it's evolving. We are typically working on volunteer run model, and honestly, that has been our USP, because we get brilliant people who are executing our work at such a great scale and at a great quality. So human resources can be volunteers, they can be skilled mentors, they can be interns, but the most important thing is to retain them, because if you have good team, you grow better. So either are they mentors or interns or volunteers, retain them. And retention is a is itself a task. It's itself a division of work. So you have to plan your retention activities, you have to plan your recognitions, you have to plan their growth. Because if they'll find growth in themselves, they'll definitely stick to your organization ideas and vision. Make them part of your change making process rather than just imposing your changes to them. So that's how helps in human resource development. Um, because we all are pretty young organizations, so it's how to manage the financial resources also comes up with this thing. Because what if we've cracked the funding, we get 40 lakhs, now how to manage it? So it's not just the line of action is not just to crack the funding, but how to maintain it so that whenever you next time goes to a funder, you have a clear idea of how to utilize it. So make your annual and project wise reports, allocate smartly, admin, program cost, operational cost, always add every aspect of cost. Don't do this thing that from program I will head the admin also. Transparency will help the donor to fund you better. Track your spendings, impact, and for tracking all these, I'm not saying, because I saw people saying technology is an issue. Don't go into high paid technology tools. Use simple Google Sheets, Google Forms, Tally. These are free platforms and are easily accessible and are easy to be used by your volunteers also. You don't need to hire high professionals, skilled professionals in this, because these tools are simple, easy, and trackable. So that will be helpful. Um, that's it about how starting from the funding, managing the funding, and understanding the management of funding. So thank you so much for everyone who joined and uh, put up the things out here. I would be more than happy to have questions, and I would be more than happy if anyone wants to connect with me, wants to work with Sade, wants to learn more about, share their learnings. Please feel free to connect with us on the, I have given this information so that you can connect with us. And I'm looking forward to lot many partnerships and together we grow. Thank you so much for joining up. If anyone has any questions, please share it in the chat box. I would also be more than happy if you can unmute and share your learnings as well. Right. So I have some questions. How can I connect? You can connect to us in this. We are present on all social medias also, so you can check there, or you can directly connect to me. This is my contact number and email ID. You can directly reach out to me. How you get volunteers? Right. It's a great question. So it's an evolving process. So when we started, we usually used to source volunteers through social media only. But that evolved actually. Social media helped us a lot in marketing good volunteer experiences, good learning experiences. So social media is one platform. We partner with lot many colleges and corporates to get volunteers. So they help us source volunteers. Then we partner with many orgs like Connect For is one of the organization that helps us source volunteers. Then we also do it with word of mouth. We go to internship fairs, volunteership fairs, community partnerships to get volunteers. How big is your team and what are the roles? So our team, as I mentioned, we have presently 2000 plus volunteers active throughout India. We consider volunteers as our team only because they are running the show end to end, from operations to management to decision power to finances. These are all volunteers are running with us. My volunteer hierarchy is there, junior, senior, or peer volunteer, but they are the volunteers. What are the roles? We have a variety of roles. It can be social media, it can be marketing, it can be operations, it is peer leaders, it is community managers, event managers, even it is finance advisors, it is mentors, it is psychologists, it is professionals, it is facilitators. So multiple roles, and all are done by the volunteers. How do you set up salary for the team? Right. So the hired people, we based on the commitment JD that we prepare. we usually have volunteer managers who are the hired individuals, because if we have to run a 2000 volunteer team, you have to have good managers of recording and tracking and checking up their work. So that's how we hire them. And we keep up with the salaries with the funding that we achieve with either individual or corporate or CSRs. So that's how we plan the salary, and based on their commitment level, if they're doing full time, if they're doing part time, if they are doing freelancing, if they are uh, that's how we plan their salaries. Salary range I can't specify. It totally depends upon the role, if, and also the professional. Starts from like I think uh I am not sure about that because I don't manage that, but usually salaries at per the market expectations that they have, and we have it with the professional and work time they give to us. We plan according to that. Do we need to share login credentials to the social media, but how to ensure that it is being posted is in sync with our vision and mission? Yes, so that's pretty good question, because it happens that we feel skeptical. But what we are doing right now is we have prepared a social media uh, documentation which has few rules, like what should be, how should it look like, what colors to use. You should have a branding technique when you go to social media. Branding plus what words to use and what words not to use. We have that document. So anyone who joins our social media volunteering team, they get a proper orientation about those branding rules and about the techniques that we follow. So it's important that, and everyone has that document with them handy. So they have to use it. And still, I won't say 100% perfect, but 97, 98% people complete to that. 2-3% error rate is there, which as a people who are working full time us have to uh, abide by that. So that's that's how we follow. And about the sharing login credentials to social media volunteers, so on LinkedIn, you don't need to share credentials. You can add them as a content manager, and you can be the super admin. For Instagram, you might have to share credentials, but you can add your number and your email ID as the authentic level, so that they can only log in when you allow them to. Right. If anyone has anything else to share or put forward, we'll be more than happy to discuss.
Yes, Palak, may I share?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Nivedita Desai from Animate Charitable Trust. My colleague Hiren is also on the call, and I really liked your, webinar today because I felt there were a lot of learning lessons, to take from you. And I'll just tell you that I first started with the question that you asked, and my question was, how is resource mobilization different from fundraising? And I feel like I got a lot of answers about it in your presentation, whether it was, about the different techniques that you can use, to share your journey so that people can connect to it, and then that kind of helps to build a relationship and then build a donor story or donor engagement. And I also liked that you said, where it's not possible to uh, have names, you can have anonymous stories told by them with their permission, their journey of change. It is quite a powerful way to share rather than us narrating their story, which I thought was, a storytelling that connects. So that was a very good example you gave. And we haven't thought of it. We always think that, we have to narrate somebody else's stories because, again, we don't know whether they will be able to narrate it. So somewhere we ourselves are to blame for not tapping this opportunity. So I think you directed my mind towards it. So beneficiary testimonials can be very powerful if it's in their own words. And if it is anonymous also, it's okay because the emotion will come through. the authenticity. Then I also liked the picture that you shared where the Rakhi doing making was happening. And it struck me that, we also have different things, products that our artisans make. If we can also have where we are exhibiting them, a small tray where somebody can do something, and maybe the artisan herself is sitting there while we are trying to get people to buy or donate. They can also do this, and make that gives a connection to this whole project or what the artisans efforts are in creating all this artwork and things like that, so that then connects to what Animate is trying to do. So I felt that these were powerful ways in which you are engaging with your audiences. And most of all, I think I was blown away by the fact which you mentioned last, is that you have 2,500 volunteers and that you have a structured volunteering program, and you've managed to achieve that in 5 years. Kudos to you, because I think volunteers are a gold mine, but we don't know how, if we know how to tap it. And you have a great approach in terms of having volunteering managers, and then having different groups that you mentioned, who are managed by in different ways. And it really enables you to bring down the costs of your organization in programs or in the program delivery, in the effectiveness of the outcomes for the cost you spend. So well done on that. I was quite, uh, you know, uh, not only impressed, but also learning from everything you shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the kind words. This really helps. And definitely, we're all together in this. We are making a great ecosystem together. So I think sharing learnings help a lot. Right. We have a feeling that we are not able to generate social media engagement organic way. Going to paid promotion involves a lot of tech issues apart from the budget. Any tips? Right. So, in my personal opinion, we have done paid marketing also, but it doesn't give much results, as much investment and as much time and energy you give out. But smart paid campaigns do help. So I'll give an example. So we do a lot of volunteering. Initially, we started in Delhi NCR, but we were getting opportunities to do the same corporate volunteering with Pune office or Bangalore office or Hyderabad office. But we were very skeptical because our team was primarily based on Delhi NCR. So we realized that how should we explore that opportunities? So social media comes into a picture, being coming from a generation which is too much active on social media. So we put up a small poster of requirements for volunteers in Hyderabad, and we did a paid marketing only in the Hyderabad region. That's how we learned that if we target population based on their experience also, because we mentioned that people who are interested in volunteering or interested in development sector or interested in social sector, only those people should see that ad. Only those people based out of Hyderabad should see that ad. So paid campaigns only helps if we plan and strategize. If we randomly do a advertisement, I don't think so. It not to be conversion rate. Better to always do it organically. But at times we can't reach. For example, our social media initially was only reaching to people who are of Delhi. But we want to reach it to people who are Hyderabad. So we specifically raised a campaign, a 1 or 2 day campaign, so that Hyderabad people tend to see that. Obviously, because we were not on good funds that we could raise it for a month or 10 days. So 1 or 2 days, how it helps for 1 or 2 days, it reach out to Hyderabad people, and those people only they shared it to more people. So that's how I think Meta ads or Instagram ads help, but only strategically and planned. Not everything would help. Okay, was that in a Google ad? No, it was a Meta ad. We did with the Meta ad manager. Yes. Right. We are on time, but in case still, if anyone has anything to add, discuss, share, please feel free to do. I'm more than happy to discuss our experiences with you as well. And if anyone has any other experience to share in regards to this topic to the whole audience that is here, please share that too. Any tips for monthly giving? Monthly giving, we usually don't believe in giving. We mostly believe in sharing. So whenever we plan our monthly activities, we plan it in this way that we are sharing this. For example, I mentioned about that if a woman is sharing her knowledge, what she is getting money out of it, or she is getting infrastructure, or she's getting up exposure out of it. So we plan mostly monthly sharing opportunities, not in terms of giving opportunities, because that's how the win-win position of our organization is working on.
Great, Palak. That was really a great session we had. One of the and the points you have mentioned, like it things or it like okay, this is the day-to-day things we need to do, but it we miss out those things to do actually. The tricks or the tips you have shared, that was really great. And as Nivedita ma'am has mentioned about it, how it helped and learning. So definitely the today's audience have learned about the same. Thank you so much on behalf of Connect for joining and empowering our today's audience. And yes, all of you also thank you for joining in on a weekday, and as you always do. And we will come up with such exciting and knowledgeable sessions every month. So please do join. Anything else? We can take up the last question for today's session, or we can just say, yeah, say goodbye. I hope we all, someone has to get ready for Garba nights. So Navratri,
Thank you all so much.
thank you so much. That was a really detailed feedback you have shared, and we really like to hear the stories. Yeah, that's what the feedback and the testimonial you have shared, and we are happy to help you in any way, ma'am. Anyway,
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.